Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 5 of the Banter Era, the final. Chris and I have been inundated with people saying, release the episode, when's it happening? So people can stop messages now, Chris. It's finally going to be out.
It's been quite overwhelming, hasn't it?
It's been a journey.
Public reaction.
It's been a journey, yeah. I've had to move addresses twice, all sorts, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what happens
How
with
have you
YouTube stardom.
Welcome, Chris. Looking forward to going through our 10 final Banter Era moments, along with some little tasters.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you should leave them on.
That's a powerful look, isn't it? There's a clip that we're starting off with that I've never seen, and you've been adamant throughout the show for me to not watch it.
Well, I like to get a fresh reaction from you, that's why. This, folks, is from 2016. It's the Libertarian Party conference, I guess, in America.
Good set of lads.
Yeah, great bunch of lads. And they're deciding who should be their candidate for the Libertarian Party against Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Now, in America, well, everywhere really, but especially in America, libertarianism is there's an element of one-upmanship about it. So, if you believe in, a certain freedom, then somebody will always
you'll get out freedom.
It's very easy to be called a fascist and authoritarian in the American libertarian scene. So this is the Q&A session where you got the five nominees, I guess, including John McAfee. Do you know much about John McAfee? I know he's dead.
John, mate, you could go down a hell of a rabbit hole when it comes to John McAfee.
Yeah, well, I think he did, didn't he?
He went down all sorts of holes.
Yeah. Well, he originally just did antivirus software.
Well, it was a scam. Yeah, he sort of...
It was a scam?
Well, he created viruses and then, put them everywhere, and then we'll go, these viruses are really bad. Do you want me to sort that out?
Oh, I didn't know that.
And would make them disappear. Yeah,
nice. He's one of the candidates. And another of the candidates is Rand Paul.
Yeah, we know Rand Paul.
Literally named after Ayn Rand, right? So he's quite libertarian, but not compared to these other people, right? This is the point. So the question is, should you be able to drive a car? Should you need a driving license? Any kind of qualification?
And
they all, with the exception of Rand Paul, think this is an obscene idea. And, just watch how it goes.
Make sure it's full screen, by the way. So I want to capture the full.
Okay, yeah. See how it goes, but they keep kind of upping the stakes about how much they hate driving licenses. And then it comes to Rand Paul, who says, well, maybe it wouldn't be such a bad idea. He gets relentlessly booed by the crowd. Even when he's suggesting that maybe blind people shouldn't be allowed to drive, he gets booed. So, enjoy.
Mr. Peterson, I have a feeling I know how this answer is going to be. Should someone have to have a government-issued license to drive a car?
Hell no.
That's his whole answer.
Hell no.
Dr. Feldman.
A car is like a gun or anything else. As long as you're using it right and not using it to hurt other people, you should have a right to use it. A license and a permit is just another way to get some money and inconvenience to people.
Mr. McAfee.
I don't think licenses are required. However, if you are under 16 and your parents say you can drive and you haven't done it before, you should put a flashing pink light on your roof at least, so we can get out of your way. But that at the most.
It's a bit authoritarian.
Mr. Perry.
He's getting away with it.
Couple of claps.
The government requires licenses for far too many things. The government requires licenses for people to broadcast radio. The government requires licenses to get married. They require a license to drive. What's next? Requiring a license to make toast in your own damn toaster? Absolutely not.
Governor?
I think government has a basic responsibility to protect us against individuals, groups, corporations, foreign governments that would do us harm. In that context, a license to drive? I'd like to see some competency exhibited by people before they drive. As governor of New Mexico, I vetoed a whole lot of bills. I vetoed the haircutting license. I vetoed all sorts of licensing, but license to drive? I mean, you could, arguably, you could have an insurance requirement, I guess, that then the insurance company would determine. I mean, you got people that are blind that would be on the road, I think, that would actually continue to drive until they hurt somebody. I think...
Gentlemen, we have come to the end of the question and answer portion of the debate. You now have 60 seconds to make a...
Tremendous stuff. Always good value, the
What a set of good
Conference.
characters. How about, though, Chris, stepping it up again, how about seeing a video of David Cameron being interviewed by a tree? The sort of,
I beg your pardon?
The sort of the times that we miss in politics, as we talked about a lot in the banter era, a gentler time.
I would love to see that. Who wouldn't like to see that?
Here he is.
Let's have a ganders.
That's the most important thing of all, winning the trust of people that have put their trust in us, many of them for the first time, and Boris will have my full support as he does that.
Well, I don't know why.
Play the last bit.
I was talking to a tree.
He makes a good point.
I don't know why he's
that tree,
talking to a tree.
To be fair, Cameron did well, because that tree is a tough interrogator.
It's a tough tree. Get a plaque on it. That's what I want to say.
It works for Today programme now, I believe. I like it. I like his style. You know, some political interviewers, they just constantly interrupt. They won't let the politician get a word in edgeways. Well, the tree's not like that at all. He's much better.
Do you know what? There is a serious point there that just letting a politician sit and squirm would be way better than just constantly interrupting us with questions.
I thought Cameron gave a decent answer.
Bring back the tree. How about an absolutely ferocious and angry Jeremy Corbyn, who's always been great value throughout the banter era? Let's see him getting absolutely furious live on Sky.
Definitely the leader in 2020.
I've given you a very, very clear answer. Yes.
Look at the little smile after. I've given an answer. Yes.
Yeah.
Wink and smile.
He loses his temper a bit. Well, we'll see more of that later on.
Chasers.
Now, I want to give you... I don't think you've seen or heard this one before, have you? This is Virgin Territory. Now, this is an exceptional clip, in my opinion. Now, when we put out a request last time for people to send in new nominations, we did get 2 or 3 good ones, but we actually had them already on the list. You have to trust us on this.
Well, about the historians, you know, don't miss a trick.
One of which was this one, which I nearly did actually forget, but we got on the list a few months ago. This is Naomi Wolf, the feminist academic, I suppose she was best known as, when this was recorded in 2019. And she'd just written a new book, and for some reason she went on Radio 3 to promote it, and she thereby became probably the only academic to ever get owned and have their career more or less destroyed by a Radio 3 DJ. So her book was it was called Outrages. You can't get it anymore because it was pulped after this.
Not through demand, not through pure demand.
If you could get a copy, it'd probably be worth a few quid. The central hypothesis was it was a history book. She's not a historian, and she's American. It's about British history, about Victorian history. She claims in this book, having looked through a lot of court records, that gay people were routinely hanged in Victorian Britain. And historians hadn't noticed this before. Historians thought that the last person to get capital punishment for homosexuality, sodomy, let's call a spade, for sodomy was in 1835. 2 years, of course, before Queen Victoria acceded to the throne. But Wolfe thought she had found a lot of evidence that there were gay men being executed.
Gay men? Gay men? Turn it into a full word. Gay men.
Were being executed in Britain on quite a regular basis. And it came down to a basic misunderstanding on her part. Quite an understandable misunderstanding, but a misunderstanding nonetheless. She found that people, obviously it was against the law until 1967. Homosexual acts were illegal. And in theory, I think it was still a capital offence in the 19th century. And she looked at the court reports of people being arrested and tried for this. And they concluded with the words death recorded, which does sound like they've been put to death, right? Yeah. It actually doesn't. It means more or less the opposite. They were just let go and sent on their way. But it was a sort of weird legal technicality by which the judges just decided if we write down death recorded, then that
just gets rid of it.
That gets rid of it.
Yeah.
But they weren't punished at all, as far as I can see. Now, that's obviously a big difference, isn't it, between being hanged and being just sent on your way.
You'd argue maybe opposite ends of the criminal justice intervention spectrum.
And Wolfe, it is confusing, but if you're going to write a whole book about it, probably check up that the thing you think means they've been executed actually does mean that. Otherwise, you could come a cropper on Radio 3. Yeah. So she hadn't done her homework. The Radio 3 DJ called Matthew Sweet had done, and he then brings it up live on air, and Wolf realises that her entire book has been a waste of time. Oh, God. And it's even got a sort of punchline, this, in a way. It's a very dark punchline, but it is a punchline nonetheless. So let's just listen to Naomi Wolf squirming on Radio 3.
You get sentences, as I mentioned, of penal servitude for 10 or 15 years. And I found like several dozen executions, but that was, again, only looking at the Old Bailey records and the crime tables.
Several
regionally.
Dozen executions.
Correct. And this corrects a misapprehension that is in every website, that the last man was executed for sodomy in Britain in 1835.
I don't think you're right about this. One of the cases that you look at that's salient in your report is that of Thomas Silver. It says teenagers were now convicted more often. Indeed, that year, which is 1859, 14-year-old Thomas Silver was actually executed for committing sodomy. The boy was indicted for an unnatural offence. Guilty, death recorded. This is the first time the phrase unnatural offence entered the Old Bailey records. Thomas Silver wasn't executed. Death recorded. I was really surprised by this, and I looked it up. Death recorded is what's in, I think, most of these cases that you've identified as executions. It doesn't mean that he was executed. It was a category that was created in 1823 that allowed judges to abstain from pronouncing a sentence of death on any capital convict whom they considered to be a fit subject for pardon. I don't think any of the executions you've identified here actually happened.
Well, that's a really important thing to investigate. What is your understanding of what death recorded means?
Death recorded, this is also from, I've just read you the definition of it there from the Old Bailey website. But I've got here a newspaper report about Thomas Silver, and also something from the prison records that show the date of his discharge.
The prisoner was found guilty and sentence of death was recorded.
Yeah.
But the jury recommended the prisoner to mercy on account of his youth.
See, I think this is a kind of.
I think your book might be wrong.
When I found this, I didn't really know what to do with it, because I think it's quite a big problem with your argument. Also, it's the nature of the offence here. Thomas Silver committed an indecent assault on a 6-year-old boy, and he served 2.5 years for it in Portsmouth prison, which doesn't seem too excessive, really.
It's an absolutely golden moment. It's such a mic drop, isn't it, as well? Like, thank you for coming on the show.
Thought she was just wondering in for like a chill interview. Really, she got some like jobs worth. Who was like, I'm not having this. I'm doing the research.
Bless her. Now that arguably sent Naomi slightly loopy. She is renowned now for being a bit eccentric. During lockdown, she got crazy. I think
we all went a little bit.
We all went crazy. She went Coco Loco, and started. She was very, very, very vaccine hesitant, and very interested in clouds. But although I found out when I was doing a little bit of research into it, she's always been very interested in clouds, actually. But to give you an example, she, more than anyone, has tried to keep the Banter Era going since 2019.
Okay,
with her Twitter feed. She is the queen of Twitter. She got kicked off for a while, but fortunately,
what was she kicked off for?
Some anti-vax stuff,
Yeah, well, that's all right. I'm not mad at that bit.
So these are the kind of quality tweets that she's putting out to this very day. I endorsed President Trump yesterday. Today, all day, my phone froze. The cursor on my computer started wandering around the desktop, and my Wi-Fi continually disconnected, all coincidentally.
Great tweet. Tweet.
Terrifying. Also confirms/explains the conversation I overheard in a restaurant in Manhattan 2 years ago, in which an Apple employee was boasting about attending a top-secret demo. They had a new tech to deliver vaccines with nanoparticles that let you travel back in time. Not kidding.
I'll have some of that vaccine. I'll take that.
I read the Moderna website and the sources in my video about how the mRNA is not actually a vaccine, but a software platform. I actually work with developers who create software, so I understand how dangerous it is to have a tech in one's body that can receive uploads. And then, how some people think that the condensation that comes out of the back of jets is actually chemicals that the government is spraying us with. You don't believe that, do you, Paul?
No, but I've got a funny story about that, but we'll probably not.
Okay. Maybe later. Yeah. So she believes that, obviously, the chemtrail thing, but she's also she's extended it really to clouds. And so she tweets things like this. Of just totally normal
is that Greenwich?
Skies. I don't know.
I thought it was Greenwich Park.
She does this a lot. Anyone who goes on the Twitter feed to this day. Look at that. This was an hour ago. What?
Yeah, it's a cloud.
What?
It's definitely a cloud.
Has something happened since? This is very recent. Have you seen this sky before? I haven't. I mean, she does this a lot. But what I didn't realise was she's been doing it for a long time, including in the Banter Era. Look at the date there, 2018. Like giant sprays, not even pretending to be organic cloud.
Clouds do pretend. I've heard they pretend quite a lot.
Yeah. Hang on, I've got some more. One of the worst geoengineered skies I've personally witnessed.
Oh.
Whether this is biofuels or some other cloud tech over Gettysburg. So she's quite a character, isn't she? Oh, and my favourite one is this. Very simple, but very, very good.
No. No.
Ah, bless her.
Not the teddies. Don't stare at the clouds. I'll tell the story. It's actually very brief. When I worked at a previous place of employment, it was a nice day. It was warm, so I went in the back garden. We had a garden. It was a drug treatment centre. Mm-hmm. So I had a little nice garden bit outside. Nice. And I went out. One of my colleagues was just stood, just staring at the sky on his own, just staring. I was like, what's he doing out there? So I wandered down. He was still just fixed staring at the sky. And I was like, you okay, mate? What's going on? And he just looked and he went, you see it up there? It was a clear sky and a plane going across the sky with a contrail. Contrail. And he was like, that trail. And he looked at me and looked back at the thing. And I was like, yes, it's just a plane, mate. And he was like, no. You can just tell. There's no one in it.
There's no one in the plane?
Yeah.
You could tell?
There's just no
one
in it.
How did he tell from that distance?
It's just obvious. He just had the feeling. And I was like, you need to stop looking at the sky, mate. You need to stop
See,
looking at
what
planes.
happened during lockdown is there were very few flights and people spent a lot of time in the garden looking at the sky. And so people who were a bit susceptible to madness in the first place, when all that ended and planes started flying across, they sort of forgotten that ever happened. They thought it was a new thing. Prince believed in contrails. He listened to his Grammy Award winning song Dreamer. It's all about
the best conspiracies have bits of, like, there will be some things over the period of planes in the sky where, they find something out to control us all, Chris.
Yeah,
I'm joking.
I'm joking.
Let's a joke, Christopher.
Oh, okay.
One thing that many people also forgot, namely including Jeremy Corbyn, is that trains are often absolutely packed and travelling on them is horrendous. Both
jam-packed,
jam-packed. Both you and I have spent many an hour on a train from here to London and around the country.
Or back again.
And they're really pleasant, particularly if you go on a long train line or some that run by certain operators.
On the weekend.
They're often horrendous.
Football's been on, something like that.
Yeah, we've and the man who wanders down the train with the guitar on certain trains that we know and drives absolutely insane. It's never particularly pleasant. But Jeremy Corbyn claimed to have a rather unpleasant train journey and turned it into a national story with a beautifully created video, not posed and
not faked.
not faked in any way. Him naturally here, sat on the floor, finding it very difficult. Chris, let's see you struggle firsthand.
This is a problem that many passengers face every day on the trains, commuters and long-distance travellers. Today this train is completely ram-packed. The staff on the train are absolutely brilliant, working really hard to help everybody. The reality is there's not enough trains. We need more of them, and they're also incredibly expensive. Isn't that a good case for public ownership?
How is trains being incredibly expensive a good case for public ownership?
Yeah,
Are
no,
they
it's
cheaper
not.
if the government buys them? You know what? You know what is expensive? Buying a train at the last minute without getting a reservation.
Yeah. That will bankrupt. The nice thing about this story is there was a little bit of investigation done in house because it was a Virgin train, and Richard Branson
Virgin didn't appreciate this negative.
No, it was not ideal.
Heaven forfend.
Not ideal.
A Virgin train should be packed.
Yeah, not ideal. So some interesting footage released by Virgin, that suggests that Jeremy may have somewhat exaggerated circumstances, as you can see here.
Well, Richard Branson himself released the footage on Twitter showing, two videos, I think. One was showing him just walking down the aisle past loads of empty seats. And the other one, this one now, is him sitting down in a seat. There you go. The camera never lies.
Bless him.
That is a man sitting down in the train seat.
Yeah, there he goes.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Absolutely. But it is
so
it's rampacked.
This then turned into the equivalent of the Zapruder film, didn't it? I mean, do you remember how much controversy? It went on and on, the controversy about that.
Yeah, because that took a while to come out, didn't it? The follow-up.
I don't think it was that long, was it? I can't remember. It was many years ago. But it was
I remember thinking it was packed, yeah. Then
well, we were misled. But then, Corbyn didn't take it lying down or even sitting down. He protested that he came up with various excuses. He said, in fact, I can read you what he said. He said, this is classic kind of Corbyn quote. Yes, I did walk through the train. Yes, I did look for 2 empty seats together so I could sit down my wife to talk to her. That wasn't possible, so I went to the end of the train. John McDonnell, meanwhile, called for Richard Branson's knighthood to be revoked and described him as a tax exile who thinks he can try and intervene and undermine our democracy. This was spiralling well out of control at this point. All for Corbyn to make a point that was perfectly reasonable, which is that trains are often
but everybody knows as well. You don't even need to make that point.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Everybody knows the trains. Anybody who goes on a train knows that they're absolutely packed.
Yeah, and he goes on a lot of trains. He could easily have found that one that was genuinely packed.
Yeah.
And done his little video there, but he didn't. And so there's a massive Wikipedia page about this, actually. Remarkably big. Train Gate, it's known as. And it's never really resolved. To me, well, I think it has been. I think Corbyn was exaggerating, at the very least. I think the video and photographic evidence is overwhelming, Paul.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I don't know anyone could think otherwise. But it also just feels like non-new. I mean, yeah. I can't remember the last time I wasn't on a train that was going in between 2 cities at a decent time that wasn't absolutely...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't do it very often, but it can be bad going up the East Coast at weekends. But Birmingham, for example, never had a problem. So I don't know why they're bothering HS2. Anyway,
moving on.
A little bit of politics. Next up, Paul, Rory Stewart.
Oh, this guy. Rory Stewart's hilarious.
In fact, this one might be one that our viewers mentioned and we didn't have on the list. So thank you whoever mentioned Rory Stewart. We did briefly put him up on screen with his moustache. In a previous episode. We'll come back to that. But what I'd forgotten about was his walkabout when he was he was trying to pitch himself as a new Tory leader, one of many during the Banter era. And he did these interviews where he would very often look uncomfortable. But really try very hard to not, to look relaxed. But he thinks himself as a man of the people, and I would say he isn't really. I mean, he's
not man of the people.
Old Etonian for a start.
Yeah.
So in this video, he meets a few brothers on the street who happen to be from Ireland, as it turns out, and he is intensely uncomfortable, I would say. And then when they find out he was a politician, they just walk away. There we go.
Guys, hi. Are you happy to have a quick film?
Definitely.
Good to see you. I'm Rory.
Lilo.
Nice to see you. Good to see you. I'm Rory.
Screw, bro.
Good to see you. Very nice to meet you.
Seb, nice to
I'm
meet
Rory.
you.
Good to see you. Do you all live around here? Or?
We do indeed, yeah, sort of.
Have you always lived around here?
We're from Ireland, actually.
You're originally from Ireland?
Dublin, Ireland, yeah.
Dublin?
Yep.
And when did you move here? A few years ago. Hi there. I'm Rory. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good luck.
Thank you for saying hello. Thank you. Thank you.
Nice. That's so cool.
Wow. So you're all from Ireland? You all grew up in Dublin? Great. Fantastic. And how long have you been here for?
What is this for?
I'm filming something. I'm a politician. I'm standing to be Prime Minister, so I'm going around meeting people.
Okay.
So I want to see what people are up to.
Love to get an
I don't fuck with politics, man.
You don't like politics?
Politics. Nice to meet you, sir.
Very nice to meet you. Take care. Bye-bye. Nice to see you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care. See you.
Oh, love to get
Thank
Nando's, mate. See you later.
Peace, bro.
I think he was
Thank
probably
you.
secretly quite relieved they walked away because he was struggling to make conversation.
Yeah, he's like, so how do
and that's not the only incident of Rory Stewart looking slightly uncomfortable around black people, because there's also a tweet he put out on the same tour, on his walking tour. Let's have a quick look at the tweet and then we'll zoom in. So that's him. Thank you for coming to meet me in Hartlepool. Very nice. So if we look bit more closely there. We can see he's
there.
Very happy there with a nice young woman. Saying hello to a nice middle-aged couple there. And then this fella, big smile on his face.
Yeah, delighted.
And then with this chap. He put the tweet out. You know, it's not me cherry picking. It was his tweet.
He looks like he did not want that photo taken. Was not aware it was happening. Oh man,
And
that's
then-
just the best picture.
This is he sat
That's
like
the
that
best
throughout.
picture.
This is a
Yeah, it's
televised
insane.
televised
It was a
debate,
leadership debate, wasn't it?
with Jeremy Hunt and whoever. Boris Johnson, obviously the ultimate winner, but he sat in that peculiar position for the entire thing, right on the very edge of his seat, with this moustache that he only had for a few weeks.
Yeah.
Makes him look, for somebody who's trying not to look like an old Etonian sort of colonialist. Do you know what I mean? Why would you grow a moustache like that?
Sam Bowman said something really funny about him once, that Rory Stewart has this thing where he sort of does smart scruffy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that, nothing
That
is
is
more
very
like
posh.
arrogant and posh than that.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing that they do. I'll try and appear like I'm not that bothered about my...
Yes.
No,
Well, Boris
are-
Johnson does that, obviously.
Yeah, it's the exact opposite of what they should, what they try to do.
True.
The Oracle, they call
Good
him now,
point,
with
Sam.
his predictions.
Who?
Rory Stewart. Yeah,
Oh,
no,
Rory Stewart.
Incredible predictions.
Shall we move on to the next one? We're getting so close to the end. It's going to be.
We are
really
getting very
emotional,
close to the end, mate. We'll have
Well,
to-
we're
to
still
celebrate.
only halfway through, to be fair.
This was a fun little story.
Yeah.
Your heart might bleed for this couple till you find out what happened at the end of it. But you may recall that Gatwick was shut for some time.
Yeah.
Huge media
Just
interest.
before Christmas.
Just before Christmas, which obviously is not a great time to shut one of the busiest airports
2018 is.
in the
I've
country.
been criticised for not always knowing the dates of these
That's right,
incidents.
mate.
I thought I'd point out it was 2018, December 2018. Sorry, Paul, carry on.
Do you know the hour? No. Drones kept being flown around Gatwick, or initially a single drone led to the shutting of the airport, national media coverage, and many police on scene to try and spot these drones. But there was a surprising lack of evidence of the drones on site.
There was no
from
real evidence.
people that were there and
Yeah.
the police, and they didn't find any drones until the media stepped in. The Daily Mail.
Well, the police stepped in first by arresting this family because they were drone enthusiasts who lived within sort of 10 miles of the area.
Oh, sorry, Chris. I thought the Mail broke the story.
No, the police arrested them, but didn't name them. And then the Mail found out who they were and very much did name them. And so leading to the headline, are these morons who ruin Christmas? And it turned out, Betteridge's Law, turned out the answer was very much no. And it would be better not to splash them all over Britain's best-selling newspaper before they've had a fair trial.
Yeah, not ideal. Although we have found out that they did get a quite comfortable sum of £200,000.
Yeah,
for the
from the
experience.
Mail, not from the police.
From the police.
Yeah, rightly so.
200 grand. Would you? Is it worth it? I mean, there were hated.
I don't know. I mean, if you watch the, I wasn't necessarily going to show this, but if you watch the video of them talk after being released from prison, they
go full screen at it.
Really.
As you can probably imagine,
they're really quite unhappy.
we're feeling completely violated. Our home has been searched and our privacy and identity completely exposed. Our names, photos and other personal information has been broadcast throughout the world.
Yeah, well,
but
you see my point.
Yeah,
distress.
£200,000 still.
Yeah, I know. But at the end of that, if someone went, okay, that does sound bad. There's 200 grand. They go.
Yeah, no, I would take being nationally.
Yeah, because no one cares now. It's just one of them.
Well, no one cares now. But the big question is really, was there ever a drone? And rather
like the Croydon cat killer.
It's exactly like the Croydon cat killer, and not that far away from each other either. Really, similar neck of the woods, isn't it? I think now most people who've looked at the evidence have decided that it probably wasn't a drone. It was a moral panic.
Yeah.
Mass hysteria, because there must be a lot of security cameras around Gatwick.
Oh yeah.
And
I imagine
there's tens of thousands of people there at any given time, all of whom have got phones on their cameras. If it really were drones, plural, or even singular, flying around Gatwick, surely there would have been some video evidence of it.
Yeah, 100%.
I think it was
And
another.
why would you
example of
even
people
do it? It's
going
like such a
crazy.
dumb. Yeah, I just think if you...
you could do. I mean, there was obviously rumours it was terrorism at the time. So
I mean,
ISIS
imagine
still
that.
very much in their heyday.
But that's the word, not, this is probably a weird thing to say, but like that's some lame terrorism.
Well, terrorists can be very lame.
No, I'm not.
They're not always the brightest people, are they?
No, I'm not saying they are, but it's not that terrifying, is it?
Well, no, I could get in the jet and make a plane crash. That was the point, I think.
Oh, what, you think it was the terrorism thing is to try to down planes?
Yeah, not just close the airport.
I think
but it did stop 140,000 people going on holiday.
Would it down a plane?
I think it
I guess a big one would. I'm just thinking of my little DJI Mavic thing. I
think that's why they closed the airport. They didn't close it in case the drone hit someone in the face or something.
Yeah, no, I'm just being thick. We'll edit this out.
But I don't think it was a drone.
What do you think it was?
Nothing. It was just somebody saw something. It's according again to the lengthy Wikipedia article about this. Someone says it might have been a balloon or a lantern or something like that.
A balloon
or a very distant aeroplane. All of which I think is more plausible than a drone.
And then the media got involved and everyone gets so stressed about it that they're like mega vigilant. Not ideal.
Well, the vigilant but still didn't see a drone, which I think lends more credibility to my belief that there was no drone. There was no drone, there was no Croydon cat killer. It was all...
No chemtrails.
Definitely no chemtrails. Right, next one. We're getting we're to very, very end of the banter era now. So the 2019 election, of which we'll have a bit more to say in a moment. Boris Johnson obviously fighting very hard to get that majority, which was by no means considered in the bag. We'll come to some people who thought it definitely wasn't in the bag shortly.
More profits.
Yeah, and he got up very early in the morning. Now, remember, this election was in December, so it was cold. Hadn't been a December election for, I don't know, since the 20s or 30s, I think. And no one was really sure whether you get a decent turnout and so on. And he's up very early, which I don't think it suits him, to, for some reason, deliver milk. I don't know why that was chosen as an election stunt.
Working man.
You think so? I don't know. So they dragged him out of bed to go somewhere or other. Obviously, shortened details as usual. But he was somewhere. It doesn't really matter where he was, does it? The point is he was delivering milk, and then ITV turned up to ask him some questions, and he was avoiding questions. He avoided the Andrew Neil interview. He avoided really anything. It was a bit of almost the Ming Vars strategy, but for the Tories, he just thought, if I keep my head down and don't make any mistakes, I should walk this. But he gets ambushed by ITN. Now you can see his spad, Rob Oxley here, drop the F-bomb live on TV at 6:37. He quite clearly, at very least, mouths FFS. Let's watch it.
Morning, Prime Minister. Will you come on Good Morning Britain, Prime Minister? I've just had a reaction here from one of the minders.
I've had a reaction.
Getting near Boris. Prime Minister, will you come on Good Morning Britain and deliver on your promise to talk to Piers and Susanna? We're ready to go. We're live on ITV right now. Prime Minister, we have an earpiece in my pocket. You're more than welcome
And
to
now
come
he
on.
goes off to hide in the fridge.
I'm actually being pushed and shoved at the moment as well by one of the
Pushed and shoved?
Mr. Johnson, while you have 5 minutes, you're live on Good Morning Britain. Could you talk to Piers and Susanna for me?
I'll be with you in a second.
Yeah, I have an earpiece here in my hand. Ready to go.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Right, he's been taken inside into the freezer.
He's gone into the fridge.
There's a bunker.
It's
very
heroic
frosty
work
so far, isn't it?
That was heroic work.
That's brilliant.
Incredible stuff.
I love the reaction when there's a swear, the delight on Morgan's face. He's like, oh, we got some swearing live on air. Bless him.
And he didn't come out of that fridge for a long time. They waited around for him, obviously. They didn't just go home. I don't know when he came out, actually. He had to come out at some point.
At some point, yeah, you did.
Unless they got moved on by what they thought were his bodyguards.
Yeah, the minder.
Just
his spouse.
I'm being beaten up by the minder.
I'm under attack from a minder. No, you're really not. Oh, bless him. I think I'd want to get in a fridge, though, if Piers Morgan wanted to speak to me.
Yeah, true.
Give anybody worse to talk to.
Shall we move
on
to some really good news?
Let's end on a high. Let's end on a high. A man whose recipes we love and adore. A man who's led the nation on a path of healthy eating through taking all the fun things out of food,
ruining fizzy drinks,
destroying fizzy drinks, wrecking turkey Twizzlers.
Yep.
I don't think I could. I will ever forgive Jamie Oliver for what he's done to sugary drinks. You know my passion for sugary drinks,
I know.
Chris. And
second to none.
The sugary drink market has been devastated. It's full of poor, crap products because of people like Jamie Oliver.
What was the favourite one you used to like?
Oh, well, there's been a wide raft
obviously.
of drinks.
So there's one in particular that was very
over
sweet.
the years. Yeah, it was the...
Was it reformulated?
Oh, what was it called? I used to drink it in... It was the...
Jamaica stuff or something?
Oh, it was Ting. It was Ting.
Ting, yeah.
I used to drink them when I lived in London all the time.
And has that been debased now?
Yeah, Ting's awful, yeah. Don't drink... They're all like... They've all been absolutely wrecked.
Apart from Coke.
Coke's the only one that's going strong, and they couldn't be doing better.
Good on them.
Absolutely killed it, keeping
because
that 39%
they
sugar
resisted,
content.
let's name him.
Jamie Oliver.
Jamie Oliver.
Who...
Came a cropper.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Went bankrupt.
Yes.
Delighted to see some images of him feeling very sad and very sorry for himself after telling us all what to do.
Yeah, we're going to watch a couple of clips of Jamie Oliver just being sad. Some people won't find him funny. If you like Jamie Oliver, you might even find them slightly upsetting.
I'm sure he's
but
fine.
Me and Paul find them very funny indeed.
That's standard.
So he's finding out here, well, he's admitting for the first time that his entire restaurant chain is going to go bust. And he's leaving about a penny in the pound to his creditors.
I've been so stressed. I've been...
Davina's can't be put into words.
So it's gone.
Go on, cry.
Tough.
Cry more.
I've been so...
So that's a nice little starter. And now he's speaking to the his accountant, I think, who is giving him the final lowdown on, there is no coming back from this.
So, Will, what happens now? When's the end?
We will try and sell what we can from here and from the other sites across the country. But, I don't think our expectations are set that high in terms of what we're going to realise. We'll use that money then to pay what we can to creditors. And at the end of that process, the company will be dissolved and will be no more.
Yes.
Bless
the
you,
people
Jamie.
have spoken, Oliver.
Bless you, Jamie. I don't think people realise how much he's...
hated.
Yeah. Or yeah, maybe he doesn't realise.
Channel 4 don't, because they keep putting him on TV all the time.
Mm.
But if you are a restaurateur, you're supposed to be exporting food, and your restaurant chain closes down completely, you've got to accept the public verdict, haven't you?
Yeah.
You can't just carry on pretending that you're popular and good at making food.
No. Home time.
I think Jamie's Italian was the worst one. I don't suppose you ever ate in any of his establishments, did you? There was Barracuda, I think, and there was Jamie's Italian.
I went to Jamie's Italian once for a Christmas meal.
Yeah.
But it was pre him wrecking the sugar drinks industry. It was pre the sugar
So
tax.
you didn't hate him as much as you do now?
No.
Did you hate him at all? Because I found him annoying even before he got into the healthy living thing.
I didn't. I was never a big fan of his. I'm more of a Gordon Ramsay. I want my TV chefs to just swear and be a bit aggy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he annoys me for different reasons, really. I don't
he's
like
great
any
banter.
of the apart from Delia.
Ramsay's good banter. He's got some good lines.
And the Galloping Gourmet.
My favourite Gordon Ramsay bit was when he did a documentary pretending to be surprised that all the kitchens in the UK are full of cocaine. He was like, "God, there's some here. Oh, God, look at this." It's like, Gordon, please, come on. You know what I mean? You're a celebrity chef, mate. Like, you come on.
This is not completely news to me. Yeah.
Let's not pretend you're shocked. I knew a guy that worked with Gordon Ramsay as well, and I said, "What was he like to work with?" And he went, "Absolute dickhead." And I thought, "Oh, fair enough."
Yeah, I can believe it. I think they are.
He is who he is.
I think they all are. But obviously, no one comes close to Jamie Oliver on that score.
No,
he's got various different ways of annoying you. I've heard it said, many years ago he advertised Sainsbury's. None of that no-fat malarkey was one of his lines in these ads, by the way. But he was in his terrible sort of new lad phase when he had a little moped and his girlfriend Jules and all this stuff.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Jules.
Then the naked chef, all that stuff. I heard it said that advertising campaign was pulled early in the north of England because people up there hate him so much.
Yeah, I don't think he's popular at all. He got that book out. Do you remember the book, 30-minute meals book? They all took more than 30 minutes.
Publishers, do they?
Yeah.
He has a book out every single year.
Yeah, it's like here's the 30-minute recipe book, and everything takes 45 minutes.
It was a roast, wasn't it? Slow cooked beef. Yeah,
just a single chicken.
Right, the election again now. We really are getting near the end. So there's a lot to say about the election. Where shall we begin? Let's begin with some of the disappointing predictions made by some people
want to be Rory Stewarts,
the left of politics. So now back to the 2019 election. As I say, very near the end of the era. A few things to say about this. Let's start with some of the quite poor predictions of some people on the Corbynista left, who, despite all the evidence and all the polling, were convinced that their man could pull the iron out of the fire. Because 2017, as you'll remember, they did a lot better than expected. They still lost, came second by quite a long way, but it was a moral victory because Theresa May lost a majority for a start off, and Corbyn did a lot better than expected, and he was expected to crash and burn and then get sacked, but he didn't, and so the Labour Party was stuck with him for another couple of years. By this point, in 2019, the Labour Party's Brexit policy in particular is a complete mess. No one knows what they stand for. And it's only really the true believers, like, for example, the people at Novara Media, who are convinced that he can do this. And so Aaron Bastani, the lovable inventor of right-wing communism, starts boasting about how he's keeping the receipts. In other words, he's keeping a record of all the people who say the Tories are going to win and Labour are going to do rubbish, because I've got more receipts than Expensify. The entire media's been saying Labour were doomed, another fortnight like the last one, and they will form the next government. What's he saying here? 28 seat majority for Tories. I think that's optimistic and unlikely. Make no mistake, Labour with their Get Out the Vote campaign on day, and youth turnout can win this. And for those asking, yes, over the last 2 weeks, I have been keeping the receipts.
Still got those receipts.
As you can see, I was keeping the receipts as well.
The irony.
At the weekend, the Tories are apparently going to get 50% of the vote in England. Today, they'll apparently get near 360 seats. Neither is happening. Just remember that figure of 360 seats, because we'll come back to that in a second. It's time to take some more receipts. One party has the momentum, Labour. Paul Mason, the Corbynite former political editor or economics editor of Newsnight, said at the start of 2019, in fact on New Year's Day, look, in 2019, Corbyn is 4-1 to become next PM. That's the easiest 4 bob you'll ever make. But of course, it wasn't to be. And when the exit poll came out at 10 p.m, there was a lot of gnashing of teeth, particularly, it has to be said, at Channel 4 News, the neutral public service broadcaster, where they got a real cross-section of the public and got them in a room. And it was basically like a wake from about 1 minute past 10 onwards. But they had to carry on all night. So this is when just listen to the reaction when the exit poll comes up on the screen.
A majority, well, that's what the exit poll is saying. Boris Johnson has gambled and won. He has purged his party.
There we go. I guess that kind of reception you normally only get at the Libertarian Party conference when you say that people should have a driving licence. And then when they get the actual figures up, again, there's an enormous intake of breath.
Brexit happening, barring a national emergency, in between now and the 31st of January, on the 31st of January.
And there we are. That is
368
an absolutely extraordinary result that the exit poll is predicting. A landslide.
So a very long night for Channel 4 News. And also for Novara Media. Let's get back to them. So this is them doing their own little show and also seeing the exit poll.
And Sky. So, as Big Ben reaches 10 o'clock, our exit poll is suggesting those crucial exit poll Conservative majority when all the votes are counted after this election of December 2019. The Conservatives on 368 that there will be a Conservative majority on an Conservatives on 8.
Oh dear.
Are we back? Sorry about the audio there. So the exit poll is saying the Conservatives on 368 and the Labour Party on 191.
Oh.
That, if it turns out to be correct, is not a good result, is it?
It would be the worst realistic result. I think that would have been, if you'd asked me on this morning, it was the worst possible result, I would have said that. The thing is, we were looking at 60, 70 seats, which we'll see over the course of the night. I think they're going to be decided by double-digit, triple-digit.
Oh, bless him.
So a long night there as well.
Bless him.
Bless them indeed.
And an ongoing theme that the banter era may have ended, but people making awful predictions has not.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing thing with the same with the Trump election. There's some great clips of the prophet Rory Stewart and Alistair Campbell sitting and having to digest the fact that they were astronomically wrong about Trump. That's great.
They never really did digest it, though, I don't think. Rory Stewart tweeted several times before the election that there was no way Trump was going to win. And then when someone said, well, what will you do if you're wrong? He said, it would shatter my entire worldview, basically. But I haven't noticed his there's no sign of it being shattered since. He seems equally confident about his view of the world.
He couldn't predict his birthday.
No. Well, Paul, we're on to the final clip. And we come full circle with this, ladies and gentlemen, because we began on, I think the 3rd of March 2015 with the Edstone. And I argued then that the release of the Edstone, the first appearance of the Edstone, in some way opened up some portal or something like that, thereby allowing the banter era to begin. But I also believe, and I have no firm evidence of this, but
in chemtrails now.
No, I also believe that on that day a fox was born somewhere in the southeast of England. And that fox potted around for a few years, possibly going to Croydon, mutilating some dead cats. No, not killing, just mutilating their dead bodies. Before turning up at a windmill in Sussex, which was the home to the esteemed Queen's Counsel at the time, Jolyon Morn, who had gained himself a certain amount of notoriety during the Brexit years, one of several people to get a bit of fame by basically trying to stop Brexit. And his thing was, let's try and use every legal technicality and loophole we can. And he started off, I think he did actually succeed early on in Scotland, something like that, but he's renowned now as being a man who loses the vast majority of the litigation he instigates. And on Boxing Day, this fox had turned up at his windmill and started attacking his chickens or worrying his chickens in some way. And Jolyon, as he would notoriously then tweet, got out of bed, put on his wife's kimono, and set about the fox with a baseball bat, thereby killing it stone dead. Now, he made a mistake, I think most people would agree now, by tweeting this, particularly to the kind of people who follow him. Because I personally think this is the soundest thing he's ever done. And I think he was quite within his rights. Foxes are vermin. They were worrying his chickens. They probably would have eaten his chickens. He's every right to kill it with a baseball bat. I think it's quite a manly and cool thing to do. And I think he thought that too, which is why he tweeted it. He wanted people to know that he is a man of action.
Killed a fox.
He was going to defend his chickens with a baseball bat. But, of course, not everybody saw it that way. And, let's have a look at the Guardian front page for a start. Prominent lawyer Jolyon
Calls fox to death while wearing kimono.
It's a strong headline, isn't it?
Oh, it's superb.
And, of course, this then
Superb
led
headline.
to an endless number of memes being created. Let's have a look at it there. Every Boxing Day since has been celebrated on social media as being Fox Killing Day. And my point being, you see, the Sunday Sport even replied, twatting a fox and boasting about it on social media is perhaps evidence of an unsound mind, and that's from the people who bring you stories of sex dwarfs shitting on carpets. So he was a figure of ridicule and hate, it has to be said, for some time. He still, I would argue, is
still going strong
to some extent, yeah. But the point being, the fox that represented, and in some ways was literally the banter era, was murdered by Jolyon Morn, thereby bringing the banter era to an end. So the official end, I think, of the banter era is the 26th of December, 2019. R.I.P. the banter era and that fox. Because what happened, unbeknownst to us at the time, what was going on in Wuhan, China, was a new coronavirus was beginning to circulate, having spontaneously been created in a wet market. Definitely not coming from the nearby Wuhan Institute of Virology, where gain-of-function research was being carried out on very, very similar coronaviruses. And we know that because the WHO, the World Health Organization, has investigated it and said we can't find any evidence. And if you can't trust the WHO, can you trust it?
Yeah, it's a good point, well made.
So that, of course, then led to pandemic, lockdowns, misery.
No banter.
And pretty much death of banter, apart from Naomi Klein tweeting about clouds.
Yeah.
And so that was it. That's the full story. That's all 50 moments.
That's the end of an era.
And it will very soon be time for us to put our trotters up. But before we do, shall we have a look at some of the moments that just didn't quite make the cut? Fairly briefly, because they're not official moments. But Michael Fabricant doing a naked naked bike ride. Just a couple of photos of that.
Beautiful.
We've got. I think he was for charity.
He's a banterous character.
We've got. I mean, in a way, I can't believe that we didn't have this as a moment. But the very famous woman getting quite cross at Trump during the inauguration. Shall we watch a little bit of that?
Yeah. Donald J. Trump is now President of the United States. President
What a great honor to be able to introduce for the first time.
I think she's taking it quite
well. Still screaming to stage.
I think she might have voted for the Democrats. That's it. Let it out. You'll feel better. She says a few words.
I am so sorry. To my world. I am so sorry to my world. This is not what we want.
Is that Mussolini behind her? It's a picture of Mussolini, isn't it?
So much potential.
Who else? That's Mao or something.
Beauty and
Oh, no, it's Trump.
in this one moment, it's just almost incomprehensible that they can exist right now.
And we are grateful.
So close.
You can see Trump talking.
Yeah, going. Banter in the background going, we're so grateful to President Obama.
So that was a good one, obviously. Nigel Farage going on a march in the pissing rain from Sunderland to London to stop the Brexit betrayal. Watch a little bit of that. It looked like a particularly miserable experience. I think by the time they got to London, there's only about 3 of them left as well.
Well, is it? Well, that's what we hope. But if you see what's happened in Parliament this week, we may well not be leaving the EU. And this is a march. You know, if politicians
what could be more British
all over us, we're going to march back and tell them they can't. Simple as that.
Of course, there's some Remainer. Your Brexit.
They're all mad.
Why are they going on about clean air?
I believe in Brexit and I believe in leaving the EU at whatever cost, including on WTO terms.
Accept the vote! Accept the vote!
The chants are so shit.
Trust God in me.
Get a good chant.
Expectation and my request.
Good fun. What else didn't quite make the grade? Oh, Donald Trump changing a map of a hurricane with a felt tip. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So he had. I don't know if I ever fully understood this story, but I think he was making out that Georgia and another state had got off lightly from the hurricane because he thought it'd been predicted that it was going to go beyond Florida, and so he shows a map, which does indeed show a kind of projection of how far this hurricane's going to go out, and it covers Florida, and then to the side. There's been a very crudely added on circle, including Georgia and somewhere else.
Give you a update on the hurricane. We got lucky in Florida, very, very lucky indeed. We had actually, our original chart was that it was going to be hitting Florida directly. Maybe I could just see that, Kevin.
Kevin, get out.
It was going to be hitting directly, and that would have affected a lot of other states.
So the white bit is the original projection.
That was the original
black bit.
chart, and you see it was going to hit not only Florida but Georgia. Could have was going toward the Gulf. That was what was originally projected, and it took a right turn. And ultimately, hopefully, we're going to be lucky. It depends on what happens with South.
I don't really understand why he did that. Is he trying to take the credit for the hurricane not going?
It's just like it's just he's a good news president. Isn't he? Got some good news. We've diverted the hurricane.
Yeah, it could have been worse. I don't understand it to this day. Another one that just went just outside the top 50 was the good old WHO. Just mentioned them making Robert Mugabe, the murderous tyrant, a goodwill ambassador. It didn't last very long because, understandably, there was a bit of pushback from the international community.
From the world.
And so, as we'll see in this brief clip, it was rescinded.
His appointment did not last long. The World Health Organization says it has removed Robert Mugabe as a goodwill ambassador. It follows outrage among donors and rights groups about the Zimbabwean president's appointment. The WHO's Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, who made the appointment at a high-level meeting on non-communicable diseases in Uruguay on Wednesday, said in a statement on Twitter that he had listened to those expressing concerns.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, because you couldn't have foreseen those concerns, could you?
A couple of concerns come in about this guy due to how many people he's killed. Oh,
yeah. Maybe he's very good with non-communicable diseases, you know.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe he was just having a change, you know. He's had a change of heart.
And I think the very, very last one here, let's end on a high with probably the most important figure of the Banter Era, let's face it. I mean, he's up against stiff competition with people like Corbo, but this is Donald Trump sat with Tim Cook from Apple and calling him Tim Apple.
And we're going to be opening up the labor forces because we have to. We have so many companies coming in. People like Tim, you're expanding all over and doing things that I really wanted you to do right from the beginning. I used to say, Tim, you got to start doing it over here, and you really have. I mean, you've really put a big investment in our country. We appreciate it very much, Tim Apple. But we're opening it up.
Tim Apple.
Simple comedy, but often the simple ones are the best.
Good lads.
Well, that's it. Any final thoughts?
I just wanted to come back, Chris. You know, my final reflections, thoughts are: one, Foxes get blamed for everything.
Yeah, they do, don't they?
Including the end of the Banter Era.
Yep.
So add that to the list. And two, I'm just desperate for it to come back. But politicians have just become so insufferable and annoying.
And even Trump's not as funny as he was by any means.
No, nowhere near. No, and
do you see any future for banter in the world?
No, because we've got people like Elon Musk who are just so unfunny. Like.
Well, he did the Thai, you know, the pedo guy thing.
Yeah, but he's just there's too much. He's trying too hard. The banter's got to come natural. You can't force it. And I think people
are too angry, aren't they?
Yeah,
you can't be angry. Trump wasn't that angry in his first term. Now he's very angry. And even Musk is kind of quite angry with the government and stuff.
And there's just loads of dark things going on. There's a bit of war. There's a lot of death. Times are hard.
And then you've got someone like Ed Davey who's trying to be banterous, but
that's what I mean. There's too
cringe.
much trying hard. The banter comes at its best when people aren't trying.
Yeah, it's got to be spontaneous.
Yeah, even Rory Stewart, the modern Rory Stewart, it's just not at the same level. He's trying.
No, that's true.
It's not the same comedic appearance.
Although he did get his there's a kind of merging of things there. But he did get his wife's money was withdrawn
that was a bit of banter
by Musk.
Yeah, that was a bit of banter.
That was enjoyable, and he went on TV to talk about it rather than keep stum.
Yeah.
But apart from that, look, there's flashes of it. Obviously, I mean, we're never going to live in a joyless world.
No, well, that's your Twitter life, and your Twitter life is about finding these moments of banter and celebrating.
That's true. Yeah. So it happens, but I don't know. Well, maybe one day we'll see Banter Era 2, in which case we'll be back with another hugely popular YouTube series about it.
Yeah, on popular demand.
Until then, let's say goodbye, aren't we?
Thanks for watching, folks. We appreciate you. Me and Chris have enjoyed this, which is what it's all been about, really. We wanted to sit and go through some ridiculous Banter Era moments. Thanks so much for watching. And those that have stayed with us throughout, Chris, appreciate you sharing some of the banter stories and moments. Blaming it all on Foxes. Take it easy, folks. Maybe we'll see you again, maybe we won't, but thanks so much for watching.
Cheerio.
Cheer.
And God save the king.
Cheer.
Was that
Apparently, I'm going to skulk off to New Zealand. It is absolute disgusting lie. The journalist concerned who was told that it was lies is you, sir, are the lowlife of British journalism. And if there's any reason why I would go to New Zealand, it's to get away from disgusting people like you.
I said, well, no, you did really, really well on it. I didn't think you'd do as well as that. Then he disappeared in New Zealand, and we haven't seen him since. Kiwi.radio. If you Google that, you can see what we're about. We launched the website last week.